Some nights the sky feels heavier than it should. You lie there listening. Rain taps softly on glass. Wind moves through trees like breath through lungs. And somewhere far away, thunder rolls, low, distant, patient. Maybe you've wondered why that sound exists. Not the science of it exactly, just why it feels the way it does. Why thunder doesn't arrive with the light. Why it seems to carry weight like it's remembering something. Tonight we'll drift quietly into the hidden language of storms. The science is real, the stories are soft, and you don't need to understand everything. Just rest. Let curiosity do the listening. Before we begin, if you find comfort in these quiet journeys, you might like to stay a while. You can gently tap the like button, subscribe if you'd like more stories told softly, and ring the little bell, not for noise, but so the next quiet night can find you again. Now, let's drift. Thunder is older than words. 4 billion years ago, when Earth was young and the sky burned with methane and ammonia, lightning carved the first chemistry of life. Scientists suggest it wasn't gentle. The atmosphere crackled with electrical storms far stronger than anything we see today. But in that violence, something quiet happened. Amino acids formed. Molecules that couldn't exist before suddenly could. NASA estimates that even now, lightning strikes Earth about 100 times every second. That's 8.6 million strikes a day. Most of them happen over oceans, over forests, over places where no one is watching. The air splits, the sound rolls, and life in some small way remembers. You hear thunder because light moves faster than sound. When lightning rips through the air, it heats the surrounding atmosphere to about 30,000 degrees Celsius, 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. The air expands violently, then contracts. That rapid movement creates a pressure wave. We call it thunder. But here's the thing. Light travels at 300,000 kilometers per second. Sound travels at only 340 meters per second. So, when you see lightning flash, the sound is already late. It's always arriving after the fact, like an echo of something that's already passed. Some people count the seconds between flash and thunder to measure distance. 3 seconds equals about 1 kilometer. It's a simple trick, but it also means thunder is patient. It doesn't rush. It just rolls toward you carrying a story the light has already told. Ancient humans didn't know this, of course. They heard thunder and thought the sky was speaking. Zeus threw lightning bolts from Mount Olympus. Thor swung his hammer across the Norse heavens. Indra, the Hindu god of storms, rode through clouds on a white elephant, wielding a thunderbolt called Vajra. In Japan, Raijin beat drums to create the sound. In West Africa, the Yoruba people believed Shango, the god of thunder, spoke through storms to remind humans of power and justice. These weren't just myths. They were attempts to understand something vast, something that shook the ground and split trees and filled the air with a smell that seemed both clean and dangerous. That smell, by the way, is real. It's ozone. Lightning breaks apart oxygen molecules in the air, and some of them recombine into O3 ozone. After a storm, the air smells different because the chemistry has changed. It's one of the reasons rain feels so fresh. The storm doesn't just wash the world, it remakes the air. There's another scent too, petrichor. That's the word for the earthy smell that rises from dry soil when rain first touches it. It comes from a compound called geosmin, released by soil bacteria. But ozone mixes with it, sharpening the scent. Together they create the smell of a storm, ancient, clean, full of memory. You can hear thunder in your body even when you don't realize it. Research shows that thunder produces low-frequency sound waves, infrasound below 20 hertz. That's lower than the human ear can consciously detect. But your body still responds. Your chest might feel the vibration. Your heartbeat might sync to the rhythm. Some studies suggest that infrasound from storms can affect mood, making people feel calm or slightly uneasy depending on the frequency. It's as if thunder speaks not just to your ears, but to something deeper. Your nervous system, your bones, the part of you that still remembers being small under a vast sky. In 1752, Benjamin Franklin flew a kite in a thunderstorm. It's one of the most famous experiments in history, and also one of the most dangerous. Franklin wanted to prove that lightning was electrical. He attached a metal key to a kite string and waited. When lightning struck nearby, the key sparked. Franklin touched it and felt a shock. He could have died, but he didn't. And that single experiment changed everything. Before Franklin, people thought lightning was divine. After Franklin, it became physics. Electricity flowing from cloud to ground. Charge balancing charge. The gods didn't throw bolts, the atmosphere did. But even now, with all our understanding, lightning still kills about 24,000 people every year, according to the World Health Organization. It strikes plains, trees, beaches, open fields. It's predictable in pattern, but random in target. And thunder, the sound that follows, is the warning, the reminder that the sky is never quite as calm as it seems. Thunder doesn't just travel through air, it reflects. When you hear a long, rolling rumble that's not one sound, it's many. The original pressure wave bounces off clouds, mountains, buildings, the ground itself. Each reflection reaches your ear at a slightly different time. So instead of a single crack, you hear a cascade, a conversation between surfaces. Some thunderstorms create sounds that last 30 seconds or more. The lightning flash is instant. But the thunder keeps going, folding over itself, layering echoes on echoes. It's why storms feel so immersive. The sound surrounds you. It comes from everywhere and nowhere. And in that moment, you're small. Not in a frightening way, just small, part of something larger. The storm doesn't know you're there. It doesn't care. It's just doing what storms do, moving water, balancing charge, speaking in frequencies older than language. Maybe that's why thunder helps some people sleep. Studies suggest that low-frequency sounds like thunder or rain can trigger the parasympathetic nervous system, the part of your body that handles rest and digestion. Your breathing slows, your heart rate steadies. The sound becomes a kind of white noise, masking sharper, more jarring sounds that might wake you. But it's not just the frequency, it's the rhythm. Thunder doesn't arrive in perfect intervals. It's irregular, unpredictable, and that irregularity keeps your brain from focusing too hard. You can't anticipate it, you can't control it, so your mind stops trying. It lets go. And maybe that's what we need sometimes. A sound that asks nothing of us. A rhythm we don't have to follow. Just the quiet knowledge that somewhere out there the sky is working. Electricity is flowing. Water is falling. The world is breathing, and so are you. That breathing has its own chemistry. When air moves through a storm, molecules break apart and recombine. The atmosphere becomes a laboratory running experiments that have repeated for billions of years. And sometimes, the way electricity flows through that breathing air does something most people never expect. Lightning doesn't just strike downward. Sometimes it moves upward from the ground to the clouds. Scientists call these upward leaders. They're rare, usually happening from tall structures, skyscrapers, radio towers, mountain peaks. The ground sends a channel of ionized air upward, meeting the descending lightning halfway. The two connect, the circuit closes, and for a fraction of a second, electricity flows both ways. It's strange to think of lightning as a conversation, but that's what it is. The cloud says something. The ground answers, and thunder is the sound of their agreement. Most lightning never touches the ground at all. About 75% of all lightning strikes happen inside clouds, cloud to cloud, or within a single storm system. These are called intra-cloud flashes. You see the sky light up, but no bolt reaches down. The thunder sounds different too. Softer, more muffled, like drums played inside a room with thick walls. NASA satellites track these flashes from space. They map storms in real time, watching electrical activity bloom and fade across entire continents. From orbit, a thunderstorm looks like a living thing, breathing, pulsing, full of light that never quite escapes. And in a way, that light carries memory. When lightning heats the air to 30,000 degrees, it doesn't just create sound, it creates plasma, a state of matter where electrons are stripped from atoms. For a microsecond, the air becomes something else. Not quite gas, not quite liquid, just pure energy glowing white hot. Plasma is the same state that powers the sun. It's what stars are made of. And for that brief instant, a lightning bolt is a tiny star burning in the atmosphere. Then it's gone. The air cools, the atoms recombine. But something has changed. The nitrogen in the air, for example. Nitrogen makes up 78% of Earth's atmosphere, but most plants can't use it directly. It's too stable, locked in pairs of atoms that don't want to separate. But lightning breaks those bonds. The heat and energy force nitrogen and oxygen to combine into nitrogen oxides. These compounds dissolve in rainwater and fall to the soil where plants can finally absorb them. Scientists estimate that lightning produces about 100 million tons of usable nitrogen every year. That's roughly 5% of the nitrogen that fertilizes crops and forests worldwide. It's not much, but it's enough. And it's been happening for billions of years long before humans learned to synthesize fertilizer in labs. In a sense, storms feed the earth. Ancient farmers didn't know the chemistry, but they noticed the pattern. After a thunderstorm, crops grew greener, grass thickened, flowers bloomed more vividly. They called it the blessing of the gods. And in a way, they were right. The sky was giving something back. There's a rhythm to storms that most people don't notice. Thunderstorms tend to form in cycles, peaking in the late afternoon and evening. That's when the ground is warmest and rising air creates instability. The heat of the day builds. Water evaporates. Clouds tower upward, sometimes reaching 15 kilometers into the sky, tall enough to scrape the stratosphere. Inside those clouds, ice crystals collide with water droplets. The collisions create static charge. Lighter ice particles rise to the top of the cloud, carrying a positive charge. Heavier particles sink, carrying a negative charge. The cloud becomes a battery, and when the charge difference grows too large, it discharges. Lightning. But the storm doesn't stop there. After the first strike, the cloud often produces a series of flashes, sometimes 10 or 20 in quick succession. Each one follows a slightly different path, branching through the air like veins. Scientists call this a lightning channel reuse. The air is already ionized from the first strike, so it's easier for electricity to flow again. The storm takes advantage. It empties itself bit by bit. And the thunder. It layers. Each flash adds its own pressure wave. The sounds overlap, creating that long, rolling rumble. You're not hearing one event. You're hearing a sequence, a story told in overlapping sentences. Some storms are quiet, though. In the high desert of the American Southwest, thunderstorms often produce lightning without much rain. The rain evaporates before it reaches the ground, a phenomenon called virga. You see curtains of gray hanging from clouds, but the earth stays dry. The lightning flashes anyway. The thunder rolls, but nothing falls. These are called dry thunderstorms, and they're dangerous. Without rain to dampen the ground, lightning strikes can ignite wildfires. In California, Arizona, and Nevada, dry lightning is one of the leading causes of forest fires. The sky gives energy, but not water. The land burns. It's a reminder that storms aren't always kind. Thunder can also be deceptive. You've probably heard the saying, if you can hear thunder, you're close enough to be struck by lightning. It's true. Sound travels about 1 kilometer every 3 seconds. If you hear thunder, the storm is within 15 kilometers within striking range. But here's the unsettling part. Lightning doesn't always follow predictable paths. It can strike several kilometers away from the main storm cell, appearing out of relatively clear sky. Meteorologists call this a bolt from the blue. The lightning travels horizontally through the upper atmosphere, sometimes for 10 or 15 kilometers before angling down. You might be standing in sunshine, hearing distant thunder, and suddenly strike. No warning, No darkening sky, just electricity finding the fastest path to ground. It doesn't happen often, but it happens. There's a sound that comes before lightning, though most people miss it. It's a faint crackling like static on an old radio. Electrical charge builds in the air, and if you're standing in an open field or on a mountaintop, you might hear it. Sometimes you feel it too. A tingling sensation, hairs standing on end. That's the air ionizing. That's the moment before the strike. If you ever feel that you're supposed to crouch low feet together, minimizing contact with the ground, don't lie flat, don't run. Just make yourself small and wait. The storm will pass. Or it won't. But there's not much else you can do. It's humbling in a way. For all our science, for all our understanding of charge and discharge and plasma and pressure waves, we're still just small animals under a vast sky. The storm doesn't care about our knowledge. It does what it's always done: moves water, balances charge, feeds the soil, and we listen. Because that's what we've always done too. Thunder has appeared in art and music for centuries. Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony includes a storm movement, strings mimicking wind, timpani crashing like thunder. The Romantic poets wrote about storms as metaphors for passion, chaos the sublime. Painters like J.M.W. Turner captured the violence and beauty of tempests, the way light breaks through dark clouds. But the sound itself, the actual acoustics of thunder, that took longer to study. In the 1970s, researchers began using acoustic arrays to map thunderstorms. They placed microphones across wide areas and recorded the timing of thunder from multiple locations. By analyzing the delays, they could triangulate the exact path of lightning, even when clouds obscured the flash. What they found was surprising. Thunder doesn't just travel outward from the strike point. It refracts bending as it passes through layers of air at different temperatures. Sometimes the sound curves upward and never reaches the ground. Other times it reflects off the ground and bounces back into the sky. A single lightning strike can create dozens of acoustic paths, all arriving at different times. That's why thunder sounds so layered, so three-dimensional. You're hearing the same event from multiple angles, refracted and reflected, folded over itself like origami made of sound. And if you listen closely, you can almost trace the shape of the storm. Some cultures believed thunder carried messages. In ancient China, thunder was associated with spring, with renewal, with the dragon waking from winter sleep. The sound meant life was returning. In Norse mythology, Thor's thunder protected humans from giants and chaos. The sound was a promise the gods were watching. Even now, in some rural communities, people say things like, "The sky is talking," or "The storm has something to say." It's not literal, but it's not entirely metaphor either. There's a recognition that the storm is a presence, an event that demands attention. And maybe that's what we respond to when we hear thunder at night. Not fear exactly, not anymore, but acknowledgement. The world is larger than our rooms, larger than our thoughts. And sometimes it speaks in frequencies we feel more than hear. The air hums, the windows rattle, and somewhere deep in your chest, you feel the low thrum of pressure waves that traveled kilometers just to reach you. You didn't ask for it, but it found you anyway. And for a moment, lying there in the dark, you're connected to something vast. The storm doesn't know you're listening, but you are, and that's enough. Listening wasn't always this simple. For most of human history, people didn't just listen to storms. They tried to read them, to predict them, to find patterns in the chaos, because survival depended on knowing when the sky would turn. Long before satellites and radar, people watched the sky. They noticed patterns. Red sky at night, sailors' delight. Red sky and morning, sailors' warning. The smell of rain on dry ground. The way birds flew lower. The stillness before the wind. These weren't superstitions. They were observations. And many of them were surprisingly accurate. A red sky at sunset, for example, happens when sunlight passes through dust and moisture particles in the western atmosphere. If the sky is clear to the west, where weather typically comes from in temperate zones, then dry, stable air is moving in. The storm has passed. But a red sky at dawn means the clear air is behind you and clouds are approaching from the west. Ancient sailors didn't know about atmospheric pressure or particle scattering, but they knew what red meant, and that knowledge kept them alive. Animals sense storms too, sometimes hours before humans do. Researchers have documented this for decades. Cows lie down in fields, birds stop singing, dogs become restless. Ants build higher mounds. Even sharks swim into deeper water before hurricanes arrive. The mechanism isn't fully understood, but scientists suggest it's related to barometric pressure. Before a storm, atmospheric pressure drops. Some animals seem to detect this change, perhaps through specialized cells in their inner ears or sinuses. The pressure shift signals danger. Time to seek shelter. Humans can feel it too, though most of us don't notice anymore. If you've ever felt a headache or joint pain before a storm, that's your body responding to pressure changes. The drop in barometric pressure allows tissues to expand slightly. Joints with old injuries or inflammation become more sensitive. Sinuses swell, blood vessels dilate. It's subtle, but it's real. Your body is a barometer reading the atmosphere without conscious thought. There's a sound the wind makes before thunder arrives. It's not the howling of a gale or the whistle of a breeze. It's quieter than that. A low hum, a rustling in leaves that doesn't quite match the movement you see. The air feels thicker somehow, charged with something you can't name. Meteorologists call this pre-storm calm. Though it's not truly calm, the wind is reorganizing. Updrafts pull air toward the storm cell. The normal flow of wind pauses redirected, and in that pause, you feel the tension. The storm is gathering itself. In the 1800s, before modern forecasting communities relied on storm predictors, people who claimed they could sense weather changes days in advance. Some were frauds, but others seemed genuinely skilled. They watched clouds, felt the wind, listened to the air. They developed an intuition that science couldn't yet explain. One of the most famous was a man named Elias Loomis, an American meteorologist who in 1846 created one of the first weather maps using telegraph reports from multiple cities. He plotted storm movements and noticed they traveled in predictable patterns, generally west to east across North America. Before Loomis, people thought storms were local events forming and dissipating in place. He proved they were travelers. Systems that moved across continents carrying their thunder with them. It changed everything. Suddenly, forecasting became possible. If a storm struck Chicago, Philadelphia might expect it in 2 days. Telegraph operators could send warnings. People could prepare. The invisible became visible. But even with all our technology, satellites, Doppler radar, supercomputers modeling atmospheric dynamics, we still can't predict every storm perfectly. Thunderstorms are chaotic systems. Small changes in temperature or humidity can shift their behavior dramatically. A storm that looks severe on radar might dissipate in minutes. Another that seems mild might suddenly intensify. Meteorologists use terms like convective available potential energy and wind shear to quantify storm strength. They measure instability indices. They track jet streams. But in the end, storms do what they do. Sometimes they follow the models. Sometimes they don't. And thunder is even harder to predict. You can see lightning on radar, or rather you can see the electrical activity. But thunder depends on so many variables. Air temperature at different altitudes, wind direction, ground topology, humidity. The sound might travel 20 kilometers in one direction and barely 5 in another. There are nights when thunder is so loud it shakes windows. Other nights, lightning flashes bright, but the thunder is muted, distant, almost gentle. Same storm, different acoustics. It's why thunder feels so personal sometimes. You and someone a few kilometers away might hear completely different versions of the same event. In some places, thunder is seasonal. In the American Midwest, summer nights are filled with it. The Great Plains heat up during the day, and evening storms roll through like clockwork, what meteorologists call nocturnal convection. The thunder echoes across flat land, uninterrupted by mountains. In tropical regions, afternoon thunderstorms are so predictable that people plan their days around them. Equatorial heat creates powerful updrafts. Clouds tower upward. By 3 or 4 p.m., the rain begins, thunder follows. Then by evening, the sky clears. But in the Arctic and Antarctic, thunder is rare. The air is too cold to hold enough moisture for convective storms. You might go years without hearing it. And when it does happen, thunder in the polar regions, people stop and stare. It feels wrong, out of place. Like the sky is speaking a language it shouldn't know. There's a myth that lightning never strikes the same place twice. It's not true. Tall structures like the Empire State Building in New York are struck dozens of times each year. The building acts as a lightning rod, providing an easy path to ground. Some towers have been struck more than 100 times in a single storm season. Roy Sullivan, a U.S. park ranger, was struck by lightning 7 times between 1942 and 1977. He survived all of them, though not without injuries, burns lost, toenails, singed hair. The odds of being struck once in a lifetime are about 1 in 15,000, 7 times astronomically rare. But it happened. Sullivan believed he was cursed. Others thought he was unlucky. But really it was just probability and profession. He worked outdoors often in open areas during storms. The lightning didn't target him. He was just there, and thunder followed every time. Some people develop a fear of thunder, a phobia called astrophobia. It's common in children, less so in adults, though some carry it through life. The fear isn't irrational. Thunder signals lightning. Lightning is dangerous. The body reacts accordingly. Adrenaline spikes, heart rate increases, breathing quickens. But for most people, thunder becomes comforting over time. Studies suggest that low-frequency sounds like thunder can activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the part of your body that handles rest and relaxation. The rumble becomes a lullaby, the rain a rhythm, the storm a presence that asks nothing of you except to listen. Maybe that's why so many sleep apps include thunderstorm sounds. It's not the danger people crave, it's the predictability of unpredictability. The storm has its own logic. You don't have to control it. You don't have to respond. You just lie there warm and safe while the world outside rearranges itself. There's a word in Japanese, Reiyu Ryu, that means thunder and rain together. But it's more than just a compound noun. In Japanese culture, Ryu carries a sense of cleansing renewal. The storm washes away the old. It clears the air. And when it's over, the world feels different. Quieter, softer. Other cultures have similar concepts. In parts of India, the first thunderstorm of the monsoon season is celebrated. Children run outside, people open their doors. The rain is a blessing after months of heat and dust. And the thunder? It's the sky announcing the change, not a warning, a promise. Even now, in cities full of concrete and glass, people stop when thunder rolls. They look up. They listen. For a moment, the noise of traffic and screens and endless motion fades. The storm is louder, older, more real. And in that moment, you remember something you didn't know you'd forgotten. The sky is still there, still breathing, still speaking in frequencies older than language. You can't see it most days, but it hasn't gone anywhere. It's been there all along. That presence changes how sound moves through space. When thunder rolls across a landscape, it doesn't travel in straight lines. It bends, it curves, it finds paths you wouldn't expect. The air isn't uniform. Temperature shifts with altitude, humidity, varies wind pushes and pulls. And sound, patient as always, follows the route of least resistance. Scientists call this acoustic refraction. In the 1970s, researchers placed microphones across wide stretches of land, sometimes kilometers apart, and recorded thunderstorms from multiple angles. What they discovered was startling. A single lightning strike could produce thunder that arrived at different locations seconds apart, not because of distance, but because the sound had taken different paths. Some sound waves curved upward following warm air layers. Others bent downward, hugging the ground. A few bounced off temperature inversions and visible boundaries where warm air sits atop cold and returned to Earth kilometers away from the strike point. It's why thunder sometimes sounds close when the lightning was far. The sound found a shortcut, a channel through the atmosphere that carried it farther than it should have traveled. And on some nights you hear nothing at all. Lightning flashes in the distance, bright, clear, but no thunder follows. Not because it's too far away though, that's what most people assume, but because the sound curved upward and never came back down. It's still out there propagating through the upper atmosphere, but your ears will never catch it. The thunder exists. You just can't hear it. Temperature inversions create other strange effects too. On cold, clear nights when the ground cools faster than the air above, its sound travels farther than usual. People report hearing thunder from storms 30 or 40 kilometers away, distances that should be impossible. But the cold air near the ground acts like a waveguide, bending sound waves back toward the surface instead of letting them escape upward. It's the same reason you can sometimes hear distant train whistles on winter nights, or voices carrying across a frozen lake from the far shore. The atmosphere becomes a lens-focusing sound in unexpected ways. There's a particular kind of thunder that happens only in certain conditions. Meteorologists call it continuous thunder. Instead of the usual rumble that fades after 10 or 20 seconds, the sound keeps going sometimes for minutes. It's not a single storm. It's a line of storms arranged like dominoes. As one cell produces lightning, the next one fires, then the next. The thunder overlaps so completely that it becomes a sustained roar, rolling across the landscape without pause. People who have heard it describe the experience as unsettling, not frightening exactly, but disorienting. The sound has no beginning and no end, just presence, just wait, and your body responds to it differently than it does to normal thunder. Research suggests that sustained low-frequency sound can affect the vestibular system, the part of your inner ear that controls balance. During continuous thunder, some people report feeling slightly dizzy or unsteady, even though they're standing still. The sound is working on you at a level below consciousness, like a vibration you feel in your chest, more than hear with your ears. It's a reminder that sound is physical. It's not just information, it's pressure. Waves of compression and rarefaction moving through air and then through you. Your body doesn't distinguish between hearing and feeling at these frequencies. It just responds. Thunder also interacts with the landscape in ways most people never consider. In mountainous regions, the sound bounces off cliff faces and canyon walls, creating echoes that can last longer than the original thunder. In the American Southwest, where canyons cut deep into the earth, a single lightning strike can produce echoes that seem to circle the valley, coming from different directions at different times. Some indigenous communities in these regions have stories about thunder that walks around the mountains. It's not metaphor, it's accurate description. The sound literally travels around obstacles, reflecting and refracting until it fills the entire space. In cities, thunder behaves differently. Tall buildings create what acousticians call urban canyons, narrow spaces between structures where sound bounces back and forth, amplifying and distorting. Thunder in a dense city sounds sharper, more metallic, less organic than thunder over open land. The reflections add overtones. The natural rumble becomes a clatter, but some people prefer it that way. There's a particular quality to urban thunder, immediate close, almost tactile, that makes the storm feel like it's happening inside the room, with you not somewhere far away. It's all the same thunder, just shaped by different spaces. There are also places where thunder barely happens at all, not because of climate, but because of geography. Deep valleys surrounded by high mountains can act as acoustic shadows. the sound simply doesn't reach the valley floor. Lightning might strike the peaks above, bright and visible, but the thunder dissipates before it descends. People living in these valleys grow up seeing storms, but rarely hearing them. Conversely, there are places where thunder is amplified. Large bodies of water, lakes, bays, oceans can create what's called overwater propagation. Sound travels faster over water than over land because the temperature gradient is more stable. Thunder that would normally fade after 10 kilometers can carry 20 or 30 kilometers across a calm sea. Sailors have known this for centuries. They listen for distant thunder as a way to track storms they can't yet see. The sound arrives before the clouds do. But even with all this knowledge, refraction, reflection, temperature inversions, acoustic shadows, thunder still surprises us. There are nights when it sounds like the sky is tearing open directly overhead and the lightning was kilometers away. Other nights the storm is close enough to rattle windows, but the thunder is soft, almost gentle, like it's coming from somewhere else entirely. The science explains the mechanics, but it doesn't quite capture the feeling, because thunder isn't just sound, it's atmosphere made audible. It's pressure and temperature and wind and water and electricity all translated into something your ears can interpret. And every time you hear it, you're hearing a snapshot of the entire sky, how it's structured, how it's moving, where the warm air meets the cold. Thunder is a portrait of the moment, specific, unrepeatable. And maybe that's why it's comforting. You're not hearing a recording or a simulation or a pattern designed to soothe you. You're hearing something real, something that happened once and will never happen exactly the same way again. The atmosphere arranged itself in a particular configuration, electricity flowed, pressure waves formed, and the sound found its way to you. It traveled through temperature layers and humidity gradients. It bent around buildings or mountains or trees. It reflected off the ground, or a cloud, or a distant hillside. And then it reached your window. Just once, just for you. The storm doesn't know you're there, but the thunder does. It found you anyway. Something in you recognizes it before your mind does. The low rumble of distant thunder, the shift in air pressure, the way light changes when clouds gather. Your body responds before you consciously register what's happening. Heart rate slows slightly, breathing deepens, muscles relax in ways you don't direct. Scientists call this the storm response, though it doesn't have a formal name in most textbooks. Research from the 1990s showed that people exposed to recordings of thunderstorms exhibited measurable changes in brainwave patterns, specifically an increase in alpha waves, which are associated with relaxed wakefulness. The effect happened even when participants weren't consciously aware they were listening to storm sounds. The brain recognized the pattern and responded accordingly. It's similar to how your body reacts to the sound of ocean waves or rustling leaves. These aren't random noises, they're acoustic signatures of safety. For millions of years, these sounds meant shelter was nearby. Water was available. The environment was stable. Thunder carries a different message, but the response is related. When you hear thunder from inside a shelter, a cave, a house, a tent, your nervous system registers protected. The storm is happening, but you're not in it. That contrast triggers a relaxation response. You're safe. The danger is outside, and somehow that makes the sound soothing rather than threatening. There's a reason why so many people sleep better during storms. Studies from sleep research labs have found that low-frequency ambient sounds, particularly those with irregular rhythms like thunder, can help maintain deeper sleep stages. Unlike white noise, which is constant, and uniform thunder provides what researchers call masking variability. It covers up sudden sounds, a car horn, a door closing, that might wake you, but its own unpredictability doesn't trigger alertness. Your brain learns to expect the unexpected, and in that paradox, it finds rest. But the effect goes deeper than acoustics. Storms change the electromagnetic environment around you. Before and during thunderstorms, the Earth's natural electromagnetic field fluctuates. These are subtle shifts measured in nanoteslas, but some research suggests that humans can detect them perhaps through magnetite crystals in the brain or specialized cells we don't fully understand yet. The science is still developing, but there's consistent anecdotal evidence that people feel different before storms arrive. Not just anxious or excited, sometimes calmer, sometimes more focused, as if the electrical changes in the atmosphere create corresponding changes in neural activity. It's not supernatural, it's physics meeting biology in ways we're only beginning to map. There's also the smell. You've probably noticed it, the particular scent that arrives before rain. It's not just petrichor, the earthy smell when rain hits dry ground. There's something else, a sharpness, almost metallic. That's ozone again, but also negative ions. When lightning splits the air, it creates negative ions, oxygen molecules with an extra electron. These ions are short-lived, but they linger long enough to be carried by wind. And when you breathe them in, they may affect serotonin levels in your brain. Some studies suggest negative ions can have a mild mood-elevating effect, though the research is mixed and the effect is subtle. What's certain is that the air before a storm smells and feels different, and your body knows it. Animals respond to these cues even more dramatically than humans do. Dogs that are normally anxious become calm. Cats that usually hide seek company. Horses stop pacing. Researchers studying animal behavior before storms have documented these patterns repeatedly, though the exact mechanisms remain unclear. One theory involves the piezoelectric effect in quartz crystals in the Earth's crust. As atmospheric pressure drops and tectonic stress shifts, even minutely, quartz can generate tiny electrical charges. These charges might be detectable by animals with greater sensitivity to electromagnetic fields than humans typically possess. It sounds almost mythical, but the physics is real. The Earth hums with frequencies we rarely notice, and storms change that hum. There's a particular moment that some people describe, though it's hard to capture in words. It's the pause just before the thunder arrives. You've seen the lightning. You know the sound is coming. And in those 2 or 3 seconds of waiting, everything feels suspended. Not tense, not anxious, just held. Some describe it as a kind of anticipation without desire. You're not wanting the thunder to arrive or hoping it won't. You're just present in the space between, the moment when cause has happened and effect has not yet reached you. In that gap, time feels different. Psychologists who study temporal perception have noted that moments of expectation when you know something will happen, but it hasn't yet, can feel longer than they actually are. Your brain is processing more information, scanning for the incoming stimulus. Attention sharpens, and subjective time expands. The 3 seconds between lightning and thunder can feel like 10. And maybe that's part of why storms are meditative for some people. They force you into the present moment. You can't predict exactly when the next flash will come or how loud the thunder will be. You can't control it. You can only witness it. And in that surrender of control, there's a particular kind of peace. It's the opposite of most modern life, where you're constantly anticipating, planning, managing. The storm asks nothing of you except attention. And even that is optional. You can simply exist alongside it. Some cultures have practices built around this recognition. In parts of rural Japan, there's a tradition called listening to the rain, specifically sitting quietly during storms without other activity, not meditating formally, not trying to achieve anything, just being present with the sound. It's considered a form of subtle training, teaching the mind to rest in the middle of activity, to find stillness without requiring silence. Thunder in this context becomes a teacher, not in the sense of lessons or morals, but as a demonstration of how presence works. The storm is here. You are here. Nothing needs to happen beyond that. The thunder rolls. You hear it. That's complete in itself. And in that completeness, something settles. Your breathing synchronizes with the pauses between sounds. Your attention drifts without fixating. You're awake but not alert. Resting but not absent. It's a state that's hard to find deliberately, but storms sometimes gift it to you without asking. There's no striving involved, no technique, just the thunder and you and the space between. And maybe that's why you're still here, still listening. Not because you have to be, but because something in you recognizes this as enough. The storm found you, and you let it. When you stop holding, the world arrives differently. Not louder or softer, just clearer. The thunder becomes what it is. Pressure waves moving through air, instead of something you're bracing against or waiting for. Your relationship to the sound shifts. And in that shift, you notice things you'd been missing. The texture of silence between strikes, for instance. Most people think of silence as the absence of sound. But between thunderclaps, there's a particular quality to the quiet. It's not empty. It's full of small sounds that were always there, but couldn't be heard over the noise of attention. Rain tapping different surfaces. Wind moving through leaves. The faint hum of your own breathing. Scientists who study auditory perception call this release from masking. When a loud sound ends, your ears briefly become more sensitive. The hair cells in your cochlea, having been compressed by the pressure wave, spring back with heightened responsiveness. For a few seconds, you can hear quieter sounds more clearly than you normally would. Thunder creates these windows of enhanced hearing. Between each rumble, your perception sharpens. The world becomes more detailed. It's subtle. But if you pay attention, you'll notice it. The silence after thunder isn't the same as the silence before. There's also something about the rhythm of storms that affects how you experience time. Unlike a clock, which divides time into equal units, thunder arrives in irregular intervals. Sometimes 5 seconds between strikes, sometimes 30. Sometimes 2 strikes almost overlapping, followed by a long pause. This irregularity prevents your brain from predicting the pattern which keeps you present. Researchers studying attention have found that unpredictable stimuli maintain engagement better than regular ones. A metronome fades into the background. A storm doesn't. Each thunder arrives as a small surprise, gently pulling you back to the moment without demanding anything. It's presence without effort. And over time, something interesting happens. Your sense of duration changes. Minutes feel longer, but not in the way that boredom stretches time. It's more like time becomes spacious. Each moment has room in it. Psychologists call this temporal dilation in low arousal states. When you're relaxed but attentive, not trying to accomplish anything, just witnessing your subjective experience of time expands. 5 minutes can feel like 20, but in a gentle way. You're not waiting for anything to end. You're just there, and there feels bigger than it usually does. Storms create this naturally. The combination of irregular rhythm, low-frequency sound, and the safety of being sheltered all contribute to a state where time slows without becoming heavy. Some people describe it as breathing room for thoughts. In normal life, one thought follows another quickly, often without space between them. But during storms, there's a pause. A thought arrives, settles, and then fades before the next one comes. It's not forced meditation. It's just what happens when your mind isn't rushing anywhere. And in those pauses, you sometimes remember things you'd forgotten. Not important things necessarily, small things. The way light looked through curtains in a house you lived in years ago. The sound of someone's voice. A moment that had no significance when it happened, but somehow stayed with you. Memory researchers have found that relaxed states, particularly those involving rhythmic or ambient sound, can facilitate access to episodic memories. The brain isn't working hard to process new information, so older information surfaces more easily. Thunder doesn't cause these memories, but it creates space for them to arrive. And they come gently without the weight of nostalgia or longing, just images. Just moments, like photographs laid out on a table, not demanding anything, just there to look at if you want to. There's a particular kind of memory that storms seem to surface more than others. Childhood moments. Not dramatic events, but ordinary ones. Playing inside while rain fell. Watching lightning through a window. The smell of wet pavement. the feeling of being small in a big house while the weather happened outside. These memories aren't necessarily happy or sad. They're neutral, but they carry a quality of safety, of being cared for, of the world being larger than you, and that being okay. Psychologists suggest this is because storms in childhood often occurred when you were already in safe spaces, homes, schools, places where adults were managing the environment. So the association between storm sounds and safety got encoded early. Even now, decades later, thunder can trigger that sense of being protected without you consciously recognizing why. It's not sentiment. It's neurology, the amygdala. Your brain's threat detection system learned long ago that storm sounds from inside shelter mean no action is required, so it stays quiet. And when the amygdala is quiet, other parts of your brain can wander more freely. Thoughts drift, memories surface, and you feel for a moment like you did when you were young, and time was something that happened around you, not something you had to manage. There's a reason certain sounds become associated with rest. Rain on a roof, waves on a shore, wind through trees, thunder in the distance. These aren't random preferences. They're acoustic environments that throughout human history signaled safety and abundance. Rain meant water. Waves meant coast. Thunder heard from shelter meant you'd found protection before the storm arrived. Your nervous system still carries those associations. Millions of years of evolution have wired you to relax when you hear these sounds in the right context. It's not learned, it's inherited. And storms, more than any other weather pattern, combine multiple cues at once. Sound, smell, pressure changes, light shifts. Your body recognizes the entire package as a signal that it's okay to rest. Not because storms are harmless, they're not. But because you're not in them. You're beside them, close enough to hear, far enough to be safe. And that particular distance is what creates the calm. Some nights you lie there and realize you've been listening for an hour without thinking about anything in particular. Not sleeping, but not quite awake either. Just drifting in that space where thoughts come and go without sticking. The thunder arrives and passes, the rain continues, and you're there held by the sound, not trying to be anywhere else. It's not meditation. You're not focusing, you're not controlling your breath or repeating a phrase. You're just allowing the storm to be what it is and yourself to be what you are in that moment. And somehow, that's enough. There's no goal, no outcome, just the thunder and the rain and you and the night. Everything else can wait. In that pause, distance changes meaning. The storm that seemed far away doesn't feel distant anymore. Not because it's closer, the lightning still flashes miles from your window, but because distance stops being about space. It becomes about connection instead. You're here. The storm is there. And the thunder travels between, carrying a message that doesn't need words. Scientists who study sound propagation talk about acoustic intimacy. It's a term usually applied to concert halls or recording studios, spaces designed so that sound feels close even when the source is far. But storms create this naturally. The low frequencies of thunder penetrate walls and windows, easily arriving inside your room almost as strongly as they exist outside. So even though the storm is kilometers away, it feels present, immediate. And that presence doesn't intrude, it accompanies. There's a particular quality to sounds that arrive from a distance. They lose their sharp edges. High frequencies scatter and fade, absorbed by air and obstacles. What remains are the deep tones, the bass, the rumble, the undertones. And those low frequencies do something peculiar to your perception. Research in psychoacoustics has found that low-frequency sounds tend to feel less directional than high ones. When you hear a high-pitched sound, a bird, a whistle, a voice, you can usually point to where it's coming from. But bass tones seem to arrive from everywhere and nowhere. They fill space rather than emanating from a point. This is partly physics. Long wavelengths diffract around obstacles more easily, and partly how your brain processes sound below certain frequencies. Thunder, being mostly low frequency, has this quality naturally. It surrounds you. and being surrounded paradoxically feels safe. Not trapped, not enclosed, just held. In evolutionary terms, this makes sense. For most of human history, being surrounded by predictable ambient sound meant you were in a stable environment. The sounds of a forest at night, wind through a valley, distant water. These acoustic textures signaled safety precisely because they were consistent and enveloping. Storms fit this pattern. The thunder is unpredictable in timing, but predictable in quality. You know what it is, your body recognizes it, and because you're sheltered, the sound becomes part of the environment rather than a threat within it. There's a Japanese term, ma, that describes the space between things, not emptiness, not pause, but the interval itself considered as something with presence. In music, ma is the silence between notes. In architecture, it's the space between walls. In conversation, it's the pause that gives words weight. Thunder creates ma naturally. Between strikes, there's space. And in that space, you exist differently than you do during the sound. You're not waiting for the next rumble. You're just there in the interval, which has its own quality, its own texture. Some meditation traditions teach students to notice these gaps, to rest attention in the space between thoughts, between breaths, between sensations. It's considered advanced practice, difficult, but storms do it for you. The thunder arrives, it fades, and in the space after your attention settles naturally. No effort, no technique. Just the rhythm of sound and silence and you moving through both without trying. It's presence training offered freely by the weather, and the longer you listen, the more you notice how much happens in those gaps. Your breath finds its own rhythm. Your thoughts drift and return. Small sounds emerge, the house, settling rain, changing intensity. Your own heartbeat if the room is quiet enough. The space between thunder isn't empty. It's full of the subtle architecture of being alive. Some people report that these quiet moments feel longer than the thunder itself, even though they're not. Time perception research has shown that filled intervals, periods with stimulus, tend to feel shorter than unfilled ones. A minute of music feels faster than a minute of silence. But with thunder, the experience inverts. The rumble feels brief. The quiet after feels expansive, perhaps because the thunder asks for attention and the silence asks for nothing. And when nothing is asked of you, time opens. There's also something about how storms move through the night. They don't arrive and stay fixed. They travel. The thunder starts distant, grows closer, then recedes. Even if you're not consciously tracking it, some part of you notices this movement. The storm has a trajectory, an arc, a story with beginning, middle, and end. And knowing it will pass creates a particular kind of ease. Not relief that it's ending. More like permission to be with it fully because it's temporary. You can give your attention to something when you know it won't last forever. The impermanence makes presence possible. Meteorologists can track storms with precision. Now Doppler radar shows direction, speed, intensity. But you don't need data to feel the arc. Your body reads it in the thunder. The lightning gets brighter or dimmer. The intervals change. The quality of rain shifts. You're reading the storm through sound and light and pressure the way humans have done for thousands of generations. And there's comfort in that continuity. The same thunder that's falling on your roof tonight has fallen on roofs and cave mouths and forest clearings for as long as there have been people to hear it. The sound hasn't changed. The physics are identical. What you're hearing someone heard 1,000 years ago, 10,000, 100,000. It's a thread connecting you backward through time, not metaphorically, literally. The same atmospheric processes, the same acoustic patterns, the same low rumble rolling across landscapes. Different people, different lives, different worlds, but the same thunder. And maybe that's part of why it's soothing. You're not alone in this moment. You're part of a pattern so old it predates history. Humans listening to storms from shelter. Humans finding comfort in the sound of weather they're not exposed to. Humans lying in the dark feeling small and safe at once. It's not loneliness when you're connected to something that vast. Some nights the storm is brief. 10 minutes of thunder, then it's gone, leaving only rain. Other nights it settles over the landscape for hours, rolling through in waves. The thunder never stops entirely, just ebbs and surges near and far like breathing. Those long storms are the ones people remember. Not because they're dramatic or frightening, but because they create a particular kind of night. A night where time doesn't matter. Where you're not sleeping but not quite awake. Where thoughts come and go, like the thunder arriving, resonating, fading, and you're just there witnessing. And in the morning, you might not remember specific thoughts or moments. Just the feeling of having been held by something larger than yourself, of having spent hours in the company of weather and darkness and sound. It's not the same as rest exactly, but it's its own kind of restoration. The storm passes through, and something in you settles, not forever, just for now. And now sometimes is enough. That settling carries something you can't name. Not peace exactly, not contentment, something quieter than either. A sense that the moment is complete without needing to be perfect. The thunder rolls. You hear it. And between those two facts, nothing else needs to exist. Scientists studying states of consciousness have a term for this non-striving awareness. It's a mode where you're present and attentive, but without any goal. You're not trying to relax. You're not trying to sleep. You're not trying to think or not think. You're just there, and the being there is sufficient. Brain imaging studies show distinct patterns during these states: reduced activity in the default mode network, the part of your brain that generates self-referential thought and planning. The brain, in other words, stops narrating. It just observes. Storms can induce this naturally. The combination of rhythmic unpredictability, low-frequency sound, and the absence of required response creates conditions where your mind doesn't have to do anything. And when it doesn't have to do anything, it sometimes chooses to do nothing, not from exhaustion, from sufficiency. There's a difference between those two states that's subtle but profound. Exhaustion is depletion. You stop because you have nothing left. But sufficiency is fullness. You stop because there's nothing lacking. One is collapse, the other is completion. And they feel entirely different in your body. With exhaustion, there's a tension even in rest. A sense that you should be doing something but can't. With sufficiency, the rest is smooth, frictionless. You're not holding anything back because there's nothing to hold. Thunder heard from shelter on a quiet night tends to create the second kind. Your body reads the situation: safe, dry, warm, no action required. And then it reads the sound: distant, rhythmic, predictable in its unpredictability. Together, those signals produce a state where effort isn't needed. Not because you're too tired to make effort, because effort would be arbitrary. What would you be trying to achieve? The storm is doing what it does, you're doing what you do. And the two are happening simultaneously without conflict. Some traditions call this effortless being. Not laziness, not passivity, but a kind of active rest where you're fully present without trying to be present. You're awake without trying to stay awake. You're breathing without managing your breath. Everything is happening, and you're part of that happening without directing it. It sounds abstract, but you've probably felt it. Lying in bed while rain falls, sitting by a window while snow drifts down, standing on a beach while waves arrive and retreat. Moments where you're not doing anything, and that's not a problem. It's exactly right. Thunder creates more of these moments than most sounds do, perhaps because it's powerful enough to hold attention, but not threatening enough to trigger response. Your nervous system stays engaged. You hear each rumble, you notice the intervals, but it doesn't activate. You're witnessing rather than reacting, and witnessing, it turns out, is deeply restful. Research on attention fatigue has found that passive observation, watching clouds, listening to rain, observing natural processes restores cognitive resources more effectively than active rest. Your prefrontal cortex, which handles decision-making and control, gets a break. The parts of your brain that simply receive information get to work without the parts that analyze and judge. You're giving your mind permission to sense without solving. And in that permission, something loosens. Not dramatically. There's no sudden release or insight, just a gradual softening, like a fist you didn't know you were making, slowly opening. Tension you weren't aware of, carrying quietly dissipating. The thunder doesn't cause this. It just creates space for it to happen. And maybe that's what makes storms valuable. Not the experience of the storm itself, but the space it creates, the permission it grants, the way it interrupts the usual momentum of thought and replaces it with something slower, simpler. You're allowed to just be. And storms remind you of that allowance. There's a particular kind of thought that emerges in these states, not planning or worrying or remembering, more like noticing. You notice the quality of darkness, the texture of the blanket, the temperature of air against your face, small details that are always present but usually ignored because your attention is elsewhere. Psychologists call this bottom-up processing, when perception drives thought rather than expectation directing perception. You're not looking for anything specific, you're just seeing what's there. And what's there is often simpler and more immediate than what you usually attend to. A thread of light under a door, the weight of your head on a pillow, the slight coolness of air when you breathe in. Thunder in the distance, low and rolling. These aren't profound observations. They're just accurate, true to the moment. And there's something stabilizing about accuracy, about perceiving what actually is rather than what might be or should be or once was. The present moment, it turns out, is almost always manageable. It's the layers of interpretation, projection, and memory that create weight. And storms have a way of stripping those layers away, leaving just what's happening right now, which is usually just sound and darkness and you and breath. Nothing urgent, nothing incomplete, just the facts of the moment arranged simply. Some people resist this simplicity. It can feel boring or empty, especially if you're used to constant stimulation. But if you stay with it, if you let the thunder keep rolling and your thoughts keep settling, the emptiness starts to feel less like absence and more like spaciousness. Room to breathe, room to exist without purpose, room to be without becoming. And in that room, you're not alone. The storm is there too, not as company exactly, but as presence. Another thing existing alongside you, asking nothing, offering nothing, just being what it is while you be what you are. There's companionship in that, the kind that doesn't require conversation or connection, just parallel existence. Two processes happening, you and the storm, neither one affecting the other, but both real, both present, both part of the same night. And maybe that's enough. Not forever, just for now. The storm will pass. You'll fall asleep or you won't. Morning will come either way. But for this stretch of darkness, while thunder moves across the landscape and you lie there listening, everything is exactly as it needs to be. Complete, sufficient, held. Being held doesn't require hands. Sometimes it's just gravity. The pull of the earth beneath you, constant and reliable. Sometimes it's the bed fabric and weight, and the way surfaces meet your body. Sometimes it's the air itself pressing gently from all sides, a presence so constant you forget it's there until you pay attention. And sometimes it's sound. Thunder doesn't hold you the way a person does, but it creates a kind of acoustic boundary, a perimeter of attention. The world contracts to this room, this darkness, these rolling sounds. Everything beyond that perimeter fades. Not gone, just less immediate, less urgent. Inside the boundary, you're safe. Not from danger, there's no danger to be safe from, but safe from the need to expand, to reach, to extend yourself beyond this moment. The thunder gives you permission to be small, not diminished, just contained, held within a manageable space where nothing is required of you except to exist. And existing for once is enough of a task. Breathing in, breathing out. Hearing the thunder, feeling the bed beneath you. These simple facts become the entire world. Research on sensory processing shows that humans have a limited capacity for attention at any given moment. You can't attend to everything, so your brain constantly filters, choosing what matters and ignoring the rest. In most situations, it chooses broadly work relationships, future plans, past concerns. The present moment becomes background. But when a sound is compelling enough, when it's interesting but not threatening, rhythmic but unpredictable, it can redirect that filter. Your attention narrows, not from stress, from interest. And as it narrows, the world simplifies. The complexity you usually carry, all those threads of thought and concern, gently sets down. Not because you decide to let go, because the thunder gives you something else to attend to, something simpler. And in that simplicity, your nervous system finds rest. Not sleep necessarily, but something close. A state where your body remains awake, but your mind stops working. You're conscious without being busy. Present without planning. Aware without analyzing. Some sleep researchers call this hypnagogia, the threshold state between waking and sleeping. But that's not quite right. Hypnagogia has a drifting quality, thoughts fragmenting into images, logic dissolving. This is different. You're more awake than that, more coherent. But you're also not engaged in the way waking usually demands. You're just there. In the space between thought and sleep, held by sound. The thunder rolls, your breath continues. And those two rhythms, one external, one internal, exist alongside each other without competing. There's no need to synchronize them. They're not connected. But they're both happening, and you're aware of both, and somehow that dual awareness is soothing. You're hearing something outside yourself, while feeling something inside yourself. And the two streams of sensation confirm that you exist in relationship to the world. You're separate from the storm, but you're also with it, neither alone nor merged, just adjacent. Present in your own space while the storm occupies its space, and the boundary between is soft enough that sound crosses easily, but firm enough that you remain yourself. Some philosophical traditions spend years teaching this kind of dual awareness, being fully yourself while remaining open to what's not you. It's considered subtle work, difficult to maintain, but storms offer it freely. You don't have to practice. You don't have to try. The thunder arrives, you hear it. You remain yourself, and the hearing doesn't diminish you, or merge you, or change you. It just connects you briefly to something beyond your own mind. And then the thunder fades, and you're alone again. But not lonely, just solitary. Just held by silence until the next sound arrives. In those intervals, the gaps between thunder, you become aware of the smallest things. The rhythm of your own heartbeat. The texture of the pillowcase against your cheek. The weight of your arm resting on your side. These sensations are always present, but usually ignored. Background information your brain doesn't prioritize. But when the thunder creates space, when your attention has somewhere safe to rest, these tiny details surface. Not demanding, not urgent, just there. Part of the texture of being alive in this moment. And noticing them feels oddly intimate, like you're being introduced to your own body. Reacquainted with the simple machinery of existence, heart pumping, lungs expanding, skin sensing, all of it happening without you directing it, reliable and quiet. You don't usually thank your body for this work. You don't usually notice it at all. But lying there held by thunder with nothing else to do, you become aware of how much is happening beneath your conscious attention, how much care your body takes of you constantly, without asking for acknowledgement. It's humbling in the gentlest way. You're not as separate as you usually feel. Your body is environment too. Air moves through it. Temperature affects it. Sound vibrates it. You're not a consciousness piloting a machine. You're a process continuous with everything around you. The boundary between you and world is more like a gradient than a wall. The thunder reminds you of this. It moves through the air and then through you, vibrating your bones at frequencies too low to hear, but present enough to feel. You don't control it. You don't resist it. You just let it pass through the way. You let breath pass through the way. You let time pass through. And in that, allowing something releases. Not tension exactly, more like the grip of separation. The sense that you're fundamentally alone, sealed inside your own experience. The thunder dissolves that gently without you noticing. One moment you're isolated, the next you're porous, open, part of the larger weather, not lost in it. Still yourself, but also permeable, transparent, continuous. And maybe that's the gift storms offer. Not excitement or drama or beauty, though they have those things, but permeability. The reminder that you're not as separate as you feel. That sound moves through you. That weather affects you. That you exist in relationship to everything, not apart from it. The thunder doesn't teach this. It just demonstrates it, over and over. Each rumble a small proof that boundaries are softer than they seem. And then the storm moves on. The thunder fades, the rain gentles. And you're left in silence, but a different silence than before. One that feels less empty, less isolating. Because you've spent hours in the company of weather. And weather doesn't ask for anything. It just is. And you lying there are allowed to just be too. No performance, no purpose. Just existence held gently by sound and darkness and the patient turning of the night. That's all, that's enough. Enough has a weight to it, not heaviness, more like substance, like something that settles rather than floats. When you say that's enough, you're not stopping because you failed or given up. You're stopping because the measure is met, the container is full. Adding more would be overflow, not abundance. Thunder understands this somehow. Each rumble is complete in itself. It doesn't apologize for ending. It doesn't promise to return. It just arrives, exists for its duration, and fades. And that completeness, that lack of lingering or grasping, creates a particular kind of peace in the listener. You don't have to hold on to the sound. It's already gone. And the next one hasn't arrived yet. So you're free to exist in the gap, which is enough of a place to be. Scientists studying impermanence and perception have found something interesting. When people are exposed to phenomena that are clearly temporary waves, flames, falling leaves, they report lower levels of attachment-related stress than when exposed to static objects. The brain seems to accept transience more easily when the thing itself demonstrates its own ending. You don't have to let go. It lets go of itself. Thunder does this with particular clarity. It rises, peaks, and fades within seconds. No ambiguity, no clinging. The sound is already releasing itself before you have time to hold it. And that modeling watching something be temporary without resistance teaches your own thoughts to do the same. A thought arrives, it exists, it fades, like thunder. You don't have to push it away. You don't have to keep it. It has its own arc. You're just the space where it happens. This sounds abstract. But lying there in the dark, listening to storm after storm, roll through it becomes visceral. Thought appears, thought dissolves. Sound appears, sound dissolves. Breath enters, breath leaves, everything in motion, nothing requiring permanence. And in that motion, there's rest. Not the rest of stillness, the rest of flow, like floating in water. You're moving, but you're not working. The current carries you, gravity holds you, and you're just there, suspended, doing nothing but being moved. Some meditation traditions call this effortless effort action without actor. But that's too conceptual. It's simpler than that. You're breathing, but you're not making yourself breathe. Your heart is beating, but you're not controlling it. Thoughts are happening, but you're not thinking them. They're just arising like thunder arises. Natural processes doing what they do, and you're the awareness that notices. Not the doer, just the space where doing occurs. Thunder makes this obvious. You're not creating the sound. You're not controlling when it arrives, or how loud it is, or how long it lasts. You're just the hearing, and the hearing is effortless. Ears receive, brain processes, consciousness witnesses. All of it happening without you trying, which means you're free to rest even while awake. There's a particular kind of tiredness that comes from feeling responsible for everything, for your thoughts, your mood, your energy, your attention, as if you're supposed to be managing all of it all the time. and that management is exhausting. But storms remove that burden temporarily. You're not responsible for the thunder. It's going to do what it does regardless of your participation. And if you're not responsible for the thunder, maybe you're not responsible for the thoughts either, or the feelings, or the drifting attention. Maybe those are weather too, internal weather, and you're just the sky they move through, not trying to make weather happen or prevent it from happening, just letting it pass through the way the outer sky lets storms pass through. Present but not controlling, aware but not interfering. This shift from manager to witness is subtle, but it changes everything. Suddenly you're not fighting your own mind. You're not trying to make yourself relax or stop thinking or fall asleep. You're just there, and whatever is happening, and that's allowed to be what it is. The thunder doesn't judge itself for being loud or quiet. It just is what it is. And you lying there can be what you are too. Tired or awake, thinking or not thinking, drifting or alert. All of it acceptable, all of it part of the weather. Some nights you'll notice the shift happen. One moment you're trying to sleep effort visible in your breath and the tension in your jaw. The next moment, the trying stops. Not because you decided to stop, but because the thunder reminded you that things happen without effort. Rain falls without trying to fall. Thunder sounds without trying to sound. And you can exist without trying to exist. The trying was optional all along. And when it drops away not from exhaustion but from recognition, what's left is simpler, just the facts. Body on bed, sound in air, darkness around, breath moving. All of it happening by itself, reliable and quiet, asking nothing from you, except that you don't interfere. And not interfering turns out to be the easiest thing in the world. Easier than helping, easier than fixing, easier than managing. You just let it be. Thunder and breath and thought and darkness all existing together, none of it requiring your supervision. In some traditions, this is called original mind, the state you're in, when you're not trying to be anything, but you don't need the term. You just need the experience, and storms provided, night after night for anyone who's listening. The demonstration that things happen without you controlling them. That sound arrives and leaves. That breath continues. That darkness holds you without asking permission. Everything is already happening. You're already held. The thunder is already sounding. And nothing requires your effort to be real. It's real without you. And you're real without effort. And those two facts can coexist peacefully, like thunder and silence taking turns, neither one diminishing the other. The storm doesn't need your permission to exist. And you don't need the storm's permission either. You're just both here briefly in the same stretch of night. Parallel processes, separate but simultaneous. Connected by sound but not by obligation. And maybe that's the final gift. Not connection that demands relationship, but connection that allows separateness. The thunder reaches you, but it doesn't need anything from you. You hear it, but you don't have to respond. Two things existing, touching briefly through sound, then returning to their own nature. No debt, no attachment, just present shared for a moment, then released. And in that release, you're free to be whatever you are, awake or asleep, thinking or empty, held or drifting. All of it fine, all of it enough. The storm moves on, and you remain. And both are complete exactly as they are. Nothing lacking, nothing left undone. Just night and thunder and you and breath. Enough. Release doesn't always mean letting go of something you're holding. Sometimes it means recognizing you weren't holding anything in the first place. The tension you thought was grip was just habit. Muscles tightened for no reason. Attention focused on nothing in particular. And the release is simply noticing that and letting the habit dissolve. Thunder facilitates this quietly. Each time a sound arrives and fades, you get a small demonstration of how things end without your intervention. The thunder doesn't ask permission to stop. It doesn't check with you first. It just completes its arc and vanishes, leaving silence in its wake. And in that silence, you might notice other things completing too. Thoughts you were turning over finished now. concerns you were holding somehow lighter, not because you solved them or addressed them, but because the storm created enough space that they could settle on their own, the way sediment settles in still water. You didn't do anything. The space did it. Research on what psychologists call cognitive offloading shows that the brain will release unnecessary processing when the environment feels safe and predictable. It's not a conscious decision. It's automatic. The nervous system evaluates, am I safe? Is immediate action required? And when the answers are yes and no, it begins to release resources held in reserve. Muscles soften, thoughts slow, attention widens and then narrows to simple things. Sensation, sound, breath. The brain is conserving energy, but it doesn't feel like shutdown. It feels like arriving, like you've been traveling without knowing it, and suddenly you're here. Wherever here is, this bed, this room, this moment, this breath. And here it turns out is softer than you expected. Less demanding, more forgiving. The storm helped you arrive, but it's not holding you here. You can leave anytime. Think about tomorrow. Plan something. Worry about something. The door is open. But for now, the pull to stay is stronger than the pull to leave. Not because you're trapped, because here is pleasant enough that leaving seems arbitrary. Why would you go somewhere else when this is sufficient? There's a concept in Japanese aesthetics, kanso, that refers to simplicity or elimination of clutter. But it's not about minimalism for its own sake. It's about removing what's unnecessary so that what remains can be fully appreciated. A room with 1 flower instead of 10. A meal with 4 ingredients instead of 20. Not deprivation, clarification. Thunder does this for the mind. It doesn't empty your thoughts. It just makes the unnecessary ones obvious. And once they're obvious, they tend to fall away on their own. Not because you push them, because they have nothing to hold on to. What remains is simpler: the sound, the dark, the weight of your body, the temperature of air, facts without interpretation, presence without story. And in that simplicity, there's a kind of luxury. Not the luxury of excess, the luxury of clarity, of knowing exactly what you're experiencing without layers of meaning obscuring it. You're lying down, thunder is sounding, night is dark. That's all that's happening. And all of that is enough. Some people spend years trying to achieve this kind of mental simplicity. They meditate, practice mindfulness work on letting go. And all of that has value. But storms offer it freely to anyone who's listening. No technique required, no skill needed. Just the willingness to lie there and let sound be sound. The thunder doesn't care if you're good at this. It sounds regardless. And your only job is to not interfere with your own hearing. To let your ears do what they do, let your brain process what it processes, and not add commentary. Harder than it sounds. Easier than you think. The difficulty is habit. You're used to narrating, used to interpreting, used to making meaning out of everything. Thunder is just thunder, but you might find yourself thinking about storms you've experienced before, or wondering if this one will wake someone, or remembering a line from a movie about weather. And that's fine. That's what minds do. They associate, they connect, they story make. But if you notice it happening, notice the mind adding layers, you can also notice the space before the layers. The moment when thunder is just sound before it becomes thunder I recognize, or thunder that reminds me of something. That pristine moment of pure perception. It's always there. It's always first. And the more you notice it, the more you realize how much you usually miss it. How quickly you skip past the actual experience to get to the story about the experience. The storm keeps offering that moment over and over. Sound without meaning. Sensation without interpretation. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Each rumble a fresh start. Each silence a clean slate. And gradually, if you keep listening, the gap between sound and story widens. Not permanently, not dramatically, but enough that you can rest in that gap occasionally. Enough that pure perception becomes familiar instead of rare. And in that familiarity, something shifts. The world stops being something you have to understand and becomes something you can simply witness. Thunder doesn't need your understanding to exist. It exists just fine without your thoughts about it. And that independence is freeing. You're released from the obligation to make sense of everything. Some things can just be, and you can just be with them. No analysis required, no conclusion needed, just coexistence. You and the storm occupying the same stretch of time, neither one explaining itself to the other. There's a gentleness in that, a mutual respect. The storm doesn't demand your attention. You're free to think about other things. But if you give your attention, the storm doesn't perform or adjust or try to be impressive. It just is what it is. Thunder and rain and wind doing their work without audience consideration. And you lying there can be what you are too, tired or awake, peaceful or restless, empty or full of thought. The storm doesn't judge, it doesn't care. It just continues indifferent and reliable, providing sound for anyone who wants to hear it. That indifference is oddly comforting. The storm isn't here for you, it's just here, and you're just here. And both of those facts can be true without conflict or connection or meaning. Sometimes presence is enough. Sometimes coexistence is sufficient. You don't have to understand the storm or merge with it or learn from it. You can just be in the same night occupying the same general space, aware of each other without relationship. Like strangers on a train, proximate but separate. Sharing a journey without sharing a destination. And in that shared space, temporary and undemanding, you're allowed to be exactly as you are. Not better, not worse. Just this. Whatever this is. Breath and body and darkness and sound. The storm will pass. Morning will come. And this night will become memory vague and soft, like most nights do. But for now, it's still happening. The thunder still rolls. The rain still falls. And you're still here, held gently by sound and silence, requiring nothing, lacking nothing. Complete in this moment. Sufficient as you are. The night holds you. The storm accompanies you. And both ask nothing in return except that you exist, which you already do. Easily, naturally, without effort, without end. Just here, just now, just this. Enough. This is where the night becomes itself, not the idea of night, not the anticipation of rest or the memory of other nights. Just this one, this specific arrangement of darkness and sound and breath, singular, unrepeatable, happening once and then gone. The thunder has been rolling for a while now. Maybe you've lost track of how long. Maybe time stopped having clear edges somewhere between the first rumble and this one. It doesn't matter. The storm is doing what storms do, and you're doing what you do, and both are complete without needing measurement. There's nothing left to understand. Thunder is pressure waves. You know this now. It's air heated and cooled, expanded and contracted. It's physics and chemistry and the patient working of natural law. And knowing that doesn't diminish it. If anything, it makes the sound richer. You're hearing 4 billion years of atmospheric evolution. Processes that shaped Earth before anything lived here. The thunder carries that history. Every rumble is ancient and new at once. And you lying there are ancient and new too. Your body built from elements formed in stars. Your breath cycling through the same nitrogen that lightning fixed into soil millennia ago. Your awareness arising from neurons, firing in patterns refined across millions of years of evolution. You're not separate from what you're hearing. You're part of the same system, made of the same materials, subject to the same forces. The boundary between you and the storm is real enough for practical purposes. But at the level of atoms and energy, you're continuous, connected not by meaning, but by matter. The storm doesn't know this. You barely know it, but your body knows. Somewhere deep in your cellular structure, the recognition exists. This sound is familiar. This pressure is ancient. This pattern has been experienced before by ancestors too distant to name, in forms too different to imagine. And yet, the recognition persists. Quiet, wordless, true. The thunder rolls, and something in you says yes. I know this. I've always known this. Not memory. Deeper than memory. Inheritance. Written into the structure of your nervous system. Encoded in the way your ears respond, the way your heart rate slows, the way tension releases without decision. Your body trusts the storm, and that trust allows rest. Not because storms are always safe, they're not, but because this storm is happening while you're sheltered, and that combination danger nearby safety immediate is exactly the condition that allows deep rest. You're close enough to feel alive, far enough to be protected. The balance is precise, and your body knows it. Some part of you has been waiting for this, not consciously, but the waiting was there. A readiness to rest that couldn't activate until the right conditions appeared, and tonight they did. Thunder, darkness, shelter. The alignment happened by chance, but your body doesn't care about chance. It only cares that the conditions are met, and now that they are, it can finally let go. The holding you've been doing, the managing and monitoring and maintaining, it's optional now. For this stretch of night, nothing requires your intervention. The storm will pass, whether you watch it or not. Morning will come, whether you prepare for it or not. Your breath will continue, whether you think about it or not. Everything necessary is happening by itself, and you're free to simply exist alongside it. Not doing, not achieving, not becoming, just being. The simplest task, the hardest task, the only task that remains when everything else is complete. And in this moment, you're doing it, being, without effort, without goal, without story, just breath moving, heart beating, ears hearing, skin sensing. The basic fact of existence unadorned and sufficient. This is what you've been moving toward all night, not sleep necessarily, but this state where nothing is required, where presence is enough, where the night holds you and you hold nothing and the balance is perfect. The thunder has taught you this, not through words or lessons, through demonstration. Over and over it showed you things arise, exist, and fade. And none of it requires your management. You can simply witness, simply be present for the arising and the fading, simply rest in the space between. And that's what you're doing now, resting, not from exhaustion, from completion. The day is done, the night is here, the storm is sounding, and you're exactly where you're supposed to be. There's nothing else to get to, no better state to achieve, no further understanding to gain. This is it, this moment, this breath, this sound, this darkness, and it's enough. Maybe you'll sleep soon, maybe you won't. It doesn't matter anymore. Sleep will come when it comes, and if it doesn't, that's fine too. You can rest either way, because rest isn't sleep, rest is this. Permission to stop trying, permission to be done, and you are done, not finished, but complete for now. The way a sentence is complete when it ends, the way a breath is complete when it's exhaled, the way thunder is complete when it fades. You're complete too. Nothing lacking, nothing broken, nothing left undone, just you and night and the last sounds of the storm moving through. The thunder is getting quieter now, not gone, but distant. The storm is traveling on, to other places, other listeners, other nights, and you're here, still breathing, still present, still held by darkness and silence and the memory of sound. The night continues, the world turns, and you lying there are part of it, not separate, not alone, just here, just now, where you've always been, where you'll always be, in this moment, which is the only moment that exists. The storm came, you listened, and something settled, something released, something arrived that you didn't know you needed, not knowledge, not insight, not transformation, just permission. Permission to be exactly this, exactly you, exactly here, without explanation, without improvement, without anything added or taken away. Just this, just you, just now. Sleep well, dream gently. Good night.